This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go! You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics. He's got the facts. Dr. Politics. No holding back. Dr. Politics. Go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics.
Hey guys, it is October 10th, 2025. 2 weeks into the bag, so to speak, for the month of October. And it's
3
gotten
weeks from
cold.
Halloween.
Yeah, and it's gotten cold.
Yeah.
I will still have the full-size candy. And hey, Chris, you make sure you get little stickers made up that you could put on candy. So your supporters, when they hand out candy, they have your name on it.
That is good advice.
And Halloween's always a great time, maybe you get your kids and they go trick-or-treating. They can also do door knocking. Like, when they go trick-or-treat, here, let me give you this.
They'll hand out palm cards. I like this.
For candy, they get candy. The grown-ups get a palm card.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah. We used to do that for Peter King. He'd get those full-size Hershey bars, and he'd get a palm card that would he'd stick on top of that. So the homeowners get a little treat, but they have to read the palm card too.
Wow.
There was a guy that ran in upstate New York. He got candy and custom candy wrapping for it. Back when aluminum foil, then you had a paper sleeve that went over it. He had that paper sleeve be his palm card, so you open it up. Both sides had information on it about the candidate.
Those are great ideas. I can tell you, my 6-year-old was giving candy out at the I can't remember which parade it was. But somebody actually said no, they did not want Republican candy from a 6-year-old.
People have no.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Just because the Republican family is giving it out. Not, the candy is probably not made by Republicans. Who knows, right?
It's not broccoli.
Candy.
She's running around having fun. And then she was somewhat confused. She didn't understand why somebody wouldn't take her candy. So maybe Halloween will go better with palm cards.
Mm-hmm. It's, what do you call we did that when Ellen Sauerbrey ran for governor in 94. We did that too. We did her palm card when attached back when fun size candy was actually still fun size, Don. Because today's fun size, it's not very fun. You have to have 4 or 5 to just get to the joy part of it.
Oh, it's cocoa prices do nothing but go up and up and up. Your candy prices go up and up and up.
And they shrink the candy.
Yeah, we gave up. We don't get that many kids anyway, but we gave up on the big size candy because it just, at getting now close to $1 a bar, even when you buy it
Yeah.
or Sam's. Though I guess that last sale brought it down to maybe 75 cents a bar, but it's like, nah, we're not doing that.
I got my 3 boxes.
Yeah, and so we just we were just wrestling over the fact it's like, do we go ahead and buy the the big bag of Kirkland candy that we've been buying lately? But it was up. It was almost $24, and last year
Yeah.
was about 20. But I noticed when we were in Utah, there was sometimes Costco has those in between things going on sale. So they knocked $4 off the price of the bag, and I'm like, okay, I guess I can have the candy now, or hopefully I give it all away because I don't eat candy anymore. So
Hey, you and me both. We're looking at 10 months without any candy.
I don't know how you do it. I live on candy. Anything with an expiration date and a wrapper, I'll eat it.
Well, next time I see
my
you,
my weakness is still like baked treats, brownies and stuff like that. And
next time I see you,
my goal
I
is to
will
wean
give
myself off of that.
These are sorry. This is Republican candy, Brock.
You will not have to offer it twice.
Bill Brock of Brock Candy ran for Senate in Maryland years ago. He just passed away a couple years ago as well. But yeah, he's from the candy fortune. But
so the candy company name you're saying was different than his last name?
Yep. Yeah. And evidently that was on purpose because he didn't want people to come up to him.
Okay.
Well, actually, it was his family business, so it probably would have been like his father. Didn't want people walking up to him asking for candy or money or whatever, as the story goes. But hey, we got peace in the Middle East. And President Trump still doesn't get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. I mean, the peace in the middle, I don't know how to judge this quite yet, but I mean, the committee voted earlier before this announcement was made, though I think you could still make an argument that what Trump has done and the progress he made was worth considering. But, I don't know. I don't know if there'll ever be a Nobel committee, that would ever want to give something give that to Trump. I think that's just, they are just not built that way. They're just never going to do it. I don't think that the selection, this year was all that was bad, though. I mean, you're giving it to the opposition leader in Venezuela, so I think that's a positive thing, and she dedicated it to the people of Venezuela and to Trump. So it's kind of a backhand way.
And I think what do you call? Oh, Dave's on. Let me bring him. Oh, there you go. Hey, Dave. But
hey, sorry for the delay.
I remember Reagan got but they also gave Gorbachev the Nobel Peace Prize, who didn't deserve it, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the value of that is greatly diminished over the years when you look at some of the winners. You're just like, no.
Why don't we start our own prize? Like we call it the Trump Peace Prize, the Trump Prize for Science, Trump Prize for Culture, or what's the one they give for the artistic people? People that are, is it the Nobel Prize for artistic talent or something? I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, all you need to do is get Trump to do more of these things, and you make the people, make liberals' heads explode. They'll be just the Trump derangement syndrome will be.
The Donald Trump Peace Prize award winner goes to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Well,
how many times would that happen?
Well, he has said that it's easier to negotiate with Hamas than Senate Democrats, and I believe that.
Well, I think they're going to be getting some. Let me tell you, the Schumer shutdown. Let me tell you, I think they're going to be seeing the civil service may be seeing red, because I believe pink slips are going to be going out, or they've already gone out.
Well, that's good. I think if that sustains, then it may be worth it.
Hey, why aren't civil servants at-will employees, Don?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, because the last time I was on a couple of weeks ago, we talked about, how I said this could be the doziest thing, they could do here is just go ahead and, what they couldn't accomplish with Doge, they could potentially accomplish, through this system of just firing the workers instead of furloughing them, bringing them back like they have in the past.
Take a look at this. They're holding the civil servants hostage, Don. Yeah, Chuck Schumer, also Brooks, and Van Hollen.
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing though is to try to hold them accountable enough to, so that they will take the blame for this, because invariably on most of these shutdowns, Republicans always get blamed for these things and pay a
Yes, we
price in
do.
elections for it. So, the Republicans have got to continue to, just remind people that the Democrats are being obstinate on this, and that they're demanding things that are unreasonable at this point in time. And if they were just reasonable, we could go ahead and get back to business. But once again, our federal government is too large. We don't need all these people. We don't need all these positions. Whether or not it's allowable, by law that you can actually, you could fire these people during this kind of a shutdown, I don't know. But I don't think it. Trump is kind of, he's burning the bridges everywhere. So it's like, why not go ahead and give it a shot and then see if it sticks?
See what happens. Yeah.
Well,
it'll work its way to the Supreme Court, and we'll win there.
Well, the theory is that maybe Democrats want Trump to get rid of the filibuster, or Senate Republicans because they don't want the filibuster, and maybe this forces their hand. I don't know. But I also wonder if, for Democrats, maybe they just want to keep the government shut down, because if the government shut down, Trump can't do so much of what he wants to do. For example, deport illegal aliens. So I'm wondering if this may be the nuclear option, so to speak, for Democrats to stop Trump. Now, eventually, the government, I would think, would have to reopen. Eventually, they're going to have to cave. But
the last shutdown lasted roughly about 45 days in his first term.
Yeah, well, I think it'll go till at least October 15th until the paychecks stop coming out.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing some of the effects already, right? I mean, luckily, I was traveling and I was a little concerned about this because of, they were talking about.
Yeah, how was your flight, by the way, considering air traffic controllers?
But luckily I wasn't flying anything where any delays were, but those things can have, huge effects, on people traveling. If the air traffic controllers don't report to work, if TSA agents don't report to work, you start bottling up, everything starts to get all gummed up, and you just little things here and there where, people get annoyed. And then this pressure slowly builds to say, you've got to do something. Look, I mean, Trump had made all this, had this big, brouhaha over the BLS commissioner, fired her, tried to put his own guy in there with questionable credentials. They had to pull that nomination, and in the meantime, the shutdown affects BLS as well, but there's statistics that need to be coming out, and it looks like they're going to call back a bunch of people because they need people to compute the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, because that affects, they need that one for the Social Security checks next year to determine what is the increase going to be. So there are these ramifications that you've got to have certain people in certain places in order to keep those other functions running. It looks like Social Security checks don't get affected, but it does slow down the in-person service and all of these other things that come along with it.
Yeah. By the way, if you're a contractor still working in the government, if you need help desk support, like let's say you have a government issued phone and your phone, something happens to your phone, guess what? You're not able to get tech support for that. And they've even shut down like the Teams chat where you can go and talk to the people.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's, I guess he's a civilian contractor for the Navy, and so he's still working, but one of the things that is a no-go is travel, and that is part of his job, is to travel around the country as part of his job. So that part of his job is on hold. So for him, I just hope that he does get paid. Because it does affect people, real people, in terms of if they're not able to collect a paycheck.
But you know what's funny is members of Congress are able to collect a paycheck.
Yes.
And they go, it's a constitutional thing. We can't, we'd love to not get our paychecks too, which I say it's not accurate, frankly. Honestly, why don't they amend the Constitution so they too can feel the pain with their staffers who don't get paid?
Well, I mean, they could. I mean, look, if they're saying that they have to collect it, fine, but they don't have to keep it, right?
Yes.
They could donate it to
They
help
could take
do something, right?
They could take that money and give it to their employees as a stipend.
Yeah,
I pushed that out a week ago, where I had said, not just Delaney being worth $100 million and still collecting a paycheck. This flies in the face of selfless leadership. You're going to sit on what was an opportunity to shift the narrative from the left violence, namely the Charlie Kirk assassination and some of the ramping up of rhetoric. So I think this gave them an off-ramp of that devastating path they were on. But more importantly, and I think you raised it, I think this is the best way to shut down Trump in their mind. That everything that's not going to happen is going to fall on him. And if people, out of ignorance, continue to blame Republicans, they get a double win. And then the last part, really the thing that I struggle with, how can you not pay the military? I know folks that are downrange, that are out underway, and the last thing they need to be thinking about is whether their families back home are going to receive a pay on the 15th. That to me should be beyond politics. And the fact that they can't agree on that tells me this is not only is this not going to get fixed, but we have all the worst priorities driving this right now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't pay our military all that well in general, right? I mean, they're not the richest people in the world.
No, they're not.
We got a guest.
Hey, is that a candy gal?
But
to hold the military pay up, that is not right. That's something that has, like you said, it's got to be beyond the politics. You can't hold those people hostage at all.
And here's the Democrats have an opportunity of not being Grinches this Christmas season by opening up. This is just a continuing resolution. You have a couple of months to negotiate, and you can shut the government down in the new year if you have to. Which I mean, it's called negotiations. It's a give and take, and I think the president's given enough. They're just taking those people.
Well, I think we talked about this before too. I mean, part of the problem is that the Democrats have been insisting on, keeping the Obamacare subsidies going and the Medicaid expansion going and things like this, and those are all just liberal Democrat gifts to the people, and then they couch it in those terms of like, well, if we don't do this, all these people will be facing 25-50% increases in their premiums, and we have insurance executives, even though some love it, they would they do admit that all this has done is distort the market, and it's I've been on the Maryland Exchange for the last couple of years before I hit Medicare, and I did it because it was available to me, not because I couldn't necessarily afford to pay the premiums. But I look at this and I'm like, man, the government is basically subsidizing people, based on income, to a really heavy extent, and the income level is pretty wide. I mean, every time I see these things about who can't afford things, I'm like, really? I mean, the definition of some of these people are who could make up to $150,000 a year and they still qualify for some kind of subsidy. What is that all about? I mean, it's like they should easily be able to afford some kind of medical premium and not being put onto the government taxpayers to help subsidize that. So this is just another liberal giveaway program that they want to see extended. I'm glad to see that it's expiring. It's ending, and just let it go. But I don't know. Do the Democrats? I guess the Democrats don't mind dying on this hill, but I think maybe in the long run, that's something that they're going to pay a price for. If the Republicans can actually message this correctly, because the media, has they don't do any of us a favor, right? They're not on our side; they're on the other side. So that's always part of the problem for the Republican Party. Is just that when we get into shutdown mode, it's like, okay, it's they're going to paint this as a Republican problem and blame the Republicans when when we know better. We can look through this and say, here's the real problem. But most people in the media don't want to see that.
Well, the Democrat Party slogan next year is going to be "We know better than everyone." That's and these people there, they don't. I don't think these Democrats like Chuck Schumer even understand, or April Delaney for that matter. Who, by the way, she could go into her own personal piggy bank and pay her staff indefinitely, and it wouldn't hurt her.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
she doesn't want to do that. If she was a good employer, she would.
Well,
Yeah.
we've got plenty of liberal Democrats, who have got plenty of money. Throughout the nation, and they could easily cough up money if they wanted to and help out other people. But they're not. They don't do that. I mean, they just instead they just want to rail about conservative Republican politics and how mean spirited they are, how cruel they are. All these people are going to be thrown onto welfare, or they're out of jobs and all those things.
Don, I don't even remember. I think it was around 2000. The liberals were screaming how Democrats were more generous than Republicans. Then I think Pew did a study, and evidently Republicans were more charitable with their money than Democrats. Basically, George W. Bush gave more money than Al Gore did that year in 2000.
Yeah, well, and also remember Joe Biden, he gave like $500 to charity or something like that.
Yeah.
1 year.
Wasn't it the House of Hunter or something like that?
Huh?
Wasn't it some family charity? It was like not even like a real charity. It's like
Maybe
the Biden Library Fund.
Yeah.
Biden Centers.
In a lot of ways, Donald Trump is kind of a leader in this, in the sense of that he takes his paycheck and he signs it over to somebody else, right? He doesn't keep it. He basically gives that away, his presidential paycheck. So and he never gets any. He didn't get credit for it during his first term. Nobody's going to give him credit for that at all. But it's he can afford to do it, and he does it. It's a good way to show some leadership, on this. But there isn't anybody that follows along on that. There's some very wealthy Republicans who probably could do the same thing, but they don't do that either. The government's paying them money, they're going to take it. But that's one of the more admirable qualities of Donald Trump is that he's foregoing his presidential paycheck and then giving it to worthy causes and redirecting it. So I think that's good.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And we have.
Would you do that, David?
Huh?
Would you do that if you had the money?
Well, I don't have the money, but maybe if I did, I sure would.
I'm just saying, if you had the money, if you were President Trump, would you follow? Would you be like Trump in that sense?
Well, probably in the sense I don't really have a family or kids to leave it to. So someone else is going to probably get my money, whatever that would be. So probably.
Yeah, and by the way, we're in October. The EV mandates, not the EV mandates, but the EV tax credits gone.
Yeah.
We're going to see those EVs piling up even more at the dealership lots, by the way.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good to get rid of the man. Absolutely. I'm good. And also tax credits I get rid of too, because that's going to help subsidize the wealthy who have the money for an EV. So I'm glad that's gone too.
Yeah. I think once again, another distortion of the market, right? Yeah. Your people, dove into EVs, because of that tax credit. That has been, and this last version is a different version than the original version, because the original version, you had to sell, I think it was for the first 200,000 cars you sold, those buyers got that tax credit. So, and look, Elon Musk, this is Elon Musk making money off of our back, but, he exploited what was out there and made himself fabulously wealthy and built businesses, doing that. That's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that because the government basically saying, here it is, come and take it. So he went ahead and and took it, and so he showed what you could do with that. All those other car manufacturers in the last few years, they jumped in, but they came in so late that even when the Biden administration restructured the tax credits to include used cars, used EVs and stuff like that, it reached a point where they weren't selling many cars. Ford was losing money on their EVs, and they pulled back. And so we started to see all these manufacturers that said, oh yeah, we're going to become all electric by 2030, 2035. And then they had to rethink it because the sales weren't there, the profits weren't there. We got a lot of front loaded sales because of the expiration of this whole tax credit. But I'm glad to see it behind us because now we can see a little bit if the market now behaves normally.
Yeah, and Don, the craziest thing is, you go to a Cadillac dealership, you won't be able to find too many of the Escalades, but you'll find rows and rows of the Lyric and the IQ, which is the big EV, which gives you almost 1,000 miles to a charge, I think, or something like that. Really good charge. But those are not, all those EVs just aren't selling. I mean, I've heard rumors they're going to bring back the diesel and gas-powered Hummer.
Wow. That'd be something. That'd be funny.
By the way, speaking of cars, did you know Mayor Brandon Scott bought a new car? He bought a Jeep Grand Wagoneer for $163,000. Yes. Let me just say, Mayor Scott, you could have bought a Cadillac Escalade for less. You could have bought a Cybertruck, which already we know you can put a bomb in it, nothing happens on the outside, so just think you're pretty safe on the inside from attacks. He bought the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, which is funny. Jeep Grand Wagoneer has so many recalls, reliability issues. It's like I've got friends who bought the Wagoneers, and they go, yeah, if I don't see that check engine light, I'm thinking something's wrong. It's like, where'd that check engine light go? That's how frequently the check engine light pops up on the Jeep Grand Wagoneer.
Why does he need a car that's so expensive?
Yeah,
I know, it's like keeping up with the Elrics. Remember, Mark Elric had the Mark Elric mobile, an $85,000 Chevy Suburban. Now he's got I think it's like a $56,000 Mustang Mach-E is what he rides around in. But I think now that Brandon's got 163, he's got to keep up with the Scotts. So maybe he'll upgrade to like a Rivian or a Tesla Cybertruck. He could tool around in a Cyber. By the way, did you notice Montgomery County has purchased a large fleet of the Chevrolet Silverado EVs? They're roughly about $80,000 a pop. That's our money.
I thought what he should have done is lead by example. If Baltimore's so safe, he should, get a bicycle, or he should have bought a cheap EV and then said, "Hey, look, I'm the mayor. This is how I'm gonna lead by example." But instead, he bought essentially an armored up police vehicle. That's not exactly sending the right message in terms of cost and relative levels of safety.
He could have gotten a police Ford Explorer, decommissioned. They take a turbo out. They could have left the turbo in there for him. That he could have got one of those police cars, Ford police cars, which is a Ford Explorer. He could have, $163,000. He could have also bought a Lincoln Navigator or a Cadillac. And I'm not saying this, I'm a Cadillac owner, but the American aspirational car is not a Jeep Grand Wagoneer. It is a Cadillac, or maybe a Navigator. Cadillac has always been the American symbol of luxury and success.
But none of these are government vehicles. He's a public servant.
Exactly.
Aspirational is personal success, not taxpayer money.
Exactly. He could have bought a $50,000 or hell, I'll even throw another $10,000, a $60,000 Ford Explorer. He could have bought a Dodge Durango. Do they still make those? They might. But he had to go for the 106. That is like, it's just 100, and it's like, what are you? What is with this guy? I mean, he dresses like a gangbanger. So does he need this car to go around this posse? So when he's armored, so when they fight the rival gangs, they jump in the car and they're safe.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So this made me think about can you buy like a used Brinks armored vehicle or something like that, right?
You probably could.
I just typed that in on Google and I came to a website, and apparently there's several more. But it's got a whole listing of used armored vehicles of various types, Denali's, whatever. I mean, you can't. You actually have to go in there, and they're not gonna. You have to talk to somebody to get a quote on that. They don't put a price out there. But yeah, it's like, how about that? You could get a used armored car. Right?
Yeah,
but you know what you can't get?
We should all get used armored cars.
Yeah.
But you know what you can? You can't get a used UPS truck. They destroy all those. Those are not put on the market. Yeah, they shred it. They destroy them after they're retired.
What's their logic for it? It's like,
I don't know. I don't know, but they destroy them. So the UPS truck.
Yeah, I don't. I sometimes.
Not that you'd want one. Why would you want one?
Yeah, I mean, why would you want one? Because most of them don't have, almost all of them don't have air conditioning.
Well, you could convert one of those into a food truck.
But, in this day and age, I think that's a wise thing to do because, I mean, they could probably sell them, but have, take off the logo or repaint them, but that wouldn't necessarily stop somebody else from repainting it back, making it look like a delivery truck and causing all kinds of mayhem.
That's
right?
true. Yeah,
I mean, this world, you cannot tell and trust anything anymore, it seems.
I agree. That's true. Yeah.
That's very, very true. So, I mean, yeah, shame on you. By the way, it's possible he got the 4x4 guys with all the potholes in Baltimore City. Yeah, driving, you need the 4x4s, independent suspension, so you don't feel the bumps as much.
I have heard, and I saw this story the other day, and I didn't click on it, but that there's some evidence. I don't know if these are manipulated statistics, but that Baltimore is doing a little better on crime or reducing crime. I don't know who they put in charge or what the point is.
Lies, damn lies, and statistics.
I generally agree with that, but they're trying to take credit for a reduction in crime.
Well, you know what they do? They stop reporting. Okay, burglaries.
Yeah.
Home burglaries, car break-ins, stuff like that just doesn't get reported as a crime. Those are victimless crimes, guys.
That's true. The other issue I'm hearing is that the way they manipulate the statistics is a lot of these things can't be verified. So they could manipulate all kinds of crime statistics, except in the case of murder rates, that's hard to manipulate because there's going to be a record of a body. By law, and secondly, car thefts. The problem with manipulating those statistics is there's going to be an insurance report. But other statistics they could manipulate, or like you said, not report at all.
Well, I mean, car thefts. I mean, the insurance keeps record of the cops. If they don't record that as a crime statistic, they can still say, "Hey, look, we're not." They don't count carjackings as real crimes probably these days.
Yeah. Like other statistics, they could probably just get away with lying about.
But I think they can. It's a lot of it is done to the classification. How do you classify this crime? You're going to put it as more just some low level thing that nobody really pays attention to. So that you can bury it so your statistics overall look better, or whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much honest reporting of figures there are across the country with crime statistics. I think for years we generally have trusted it, but now we're so polarized and divided. We're kind of like, well, let me think about that. It's like the crime has been so rampant in some cities. It's like I don't doubt that there isn't some manipulation to try to push those figures down and make their cities look safer. But I think the You want to know how bad crime is? Go and talk to the residents.
Exactly.
Go down there and study that a little bit, and then you'll see for yourself what's going on down there. Because look, I mean, Trump, whether or not it's legal for him to call out the National Guard to these other cities, I think he's trying to make a point that there is crime in these cities that is not being reported, or there's some issues there, and somebody needs to take care of this, and the cities are not doing a job to protect their citizens. So he's trying to go there and just kind of highlight that.
And Washington D.C.
I don't know that Trump cares whether or not the National Guard really gets into Portland per se, but he definitely puts another spotlight on Portland, which had been kind of a hotbed of activism during Black Lives Matter and all this other nonsense.
See, Portland has become the new Berkeley, Don. Yeah, Berkeley was where everything bad was happening in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Now it's Portland. It's Portland. All the Berkeleyites moved up north to Portland.
Yeah, more granola crunchers, right?
Yes. And
I was just saying, they say that Oregon and Maine are two generally good states, except they're run by crazies who live in a city called Portland. And
I mean, Eastern Oregon is very red, frankly.
Yeah.
There are. I mean, I have seen stories, where like downtown Portland has just been decimated. There, the core there is terrible. It's the businesses have mostly fled and everything like this. There's businessing. It's not safe. So they're closing up shop. I mean, they had already gone through a lot of bad stuff with BLM, and all these things, and they don't. After some of that, they don't come back. I mean, think about how long it took for DC to recover after the whole after Martin Luther King and everything like that. It was just it was bad. It was really, really bad, and that was over 50
Don,
years.
we were in the upper northwest, basically Chevy Chase, right where AIM was, and we had businesses closing. Remember, the Gap shut down because of all the shoplifting problems they were having.
Yeah, I mean, and that was what, in the 1990s.
96, 97, 98, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there were problems, that continued to hit. I mean, you can't ignore that there are problems in these cities. I mean, you look at DC, the whole metro system. After the pandemic, I think the metro system became less safe because of fewer riders. More things were likely to happen. It started to look a little bit until people started coming back. It started to resemble light rail across much of the country, where it's like people would get on, and they could do things because it wasn't really being monitored very well. So it's unfortunate.
Think about it. But nice cities like Portland or San Francisco and these other places, if it wasn't so pretty and nice weather-wise, nobody would be there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, look at Los Angeles. Look at all the businesses that left downtown Los Angeles. CVS, Walgreens, Whole Foods.
Yeah.
They shut down their downtown. I mean, look at Baltimore after the Freddie Gray riots. CVS left the neighborhood. And then people complain they're in a food desert.
Well,
and I mean, I go to work in a food desert, Greenbelt, Maryland, where NASA Goddard. You have to go all the way to Route 1 if you want to have a good meal. I mean, yeah, there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King, but that's not really the healthiest foods in the world. There's a Dunkin' Donuts, But if you want to get halfway decent food, you got to go all the way down to Route 1 where there's a Panera, or College Park where there's Chop, and other places, like in Beltway Plaza. I mean, other than Three Brothers, I don't think there's anything else there that in that mall that's edible as a restaurant wise. Yeah, and they got the Silver Tiger, but I mean, it's not like if you're at NIH, you have like a million different options to go to.
Well, I mean, what's happened to our country though when you see the CVS's and the Walgreens, as you mentioned, where those stores are not particularly cheap, but they are convenient for a lot of people to buy some necessities. But when you're locking up the necessities, and then you need to find a clerk to go unlock to get something out. It's no longer convenient, and it makes you wonder about, how safe is this? And if you go through Montgomery County, and maybe, Chris, as you've traversed the state, I don't know how many of these things, how I've seen more of those, security cameras that the police put up. It's that little trailer thing. They'll just,
The
with
blue
the big
light,
pole
yeah.
and the blue light, that is there. When you see that, there's a problem. And I'm like, I've seen more of those in the last, year than I'd ever seen before. I'm like, oh, okay, I know an area that I should probably avoid. Now, some of them have changed and moved on, but even just down the street from where I live, Flower Hill, the Giant Food, for whatever
And
reason,
that
there's
should not
one in
be
the parking lot over there. It's been
Yeah.
there for like 6 months or whatever.
And that's not a crime-infested area. By the way, this
I mean, it's not the best neighborhood in the world, but it's generally a middle class or lower middle class. It's not the dregs, it's not a slum. It's
Yeah.
not the projects, and yet we've got those things there. I mean,
And here's
even where my oncologist is, it's just like they've got a bank next door. The bank had some robbery, attempted robberies. So next thing you know, this pole goes up there. I'm like, I asked him, so what's going on there? He says, oh, the bank I think got robbed twice or something. It's like,
here's something else for you, Donna. I don't know if you noticed this, like my Kensington Safeway. It used to be, you have in and out doors, right? I could go in either door and I could still get to where I want to get to, right? Now I can only go in one door and I can only go out the other door because they put barriers, much like the Beltsville Costco's. When I go there, excuse me, like, when you go to Costco's, you can go in any door and you can be in front or back, whatever you want to do, right? The Costco's over there, once you're in, you have to go around the maze and all the way around to get out. It's not like the Wheaton Costco or the Gatesburg Costco that once you go in, you can go straight over to the side or something like that. And I'm seeing that more and more at grocery stores. I'm seeing this. The Kensington Safeway should not have these issues. The Bethesda Giant should not have these issues. The Bethesda Safeway should not have these issues. I'll even throw in Silver Spring, the Safeway over in by the Wheaton Metro should not really have these types of problems. The fact and the shoplifting has gone rampant. I mean, I never told you guys this story. I went to the Safeway over on Hanover Parkway in PG County, and security guys walking out, and the shoplifters just walking. The guys will go, "Hey, are you just going to walk like you're not hearing?" And they're like, why don't you chase them down? I mean, that is how brazen these shoplifters are. They don't even stop because they know they can, as long as they stay under that magic $1,000 limit, they can walk out with anything.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's very little confrontation. I just remember as a kid, I'd be scared to death of shoplift, of being caught if I even tried to shoplift or something like that, because I think they would definitely do something, try to teach us, and it got. But nowadays, you can go ahead and walk right through a self-checkout and walk right out the store, and most security people will not even confront you. I
have seen like
self-checkout in some places.
But I've seen in Florida, like at the Walmarts, they're actually keeping an eye on self-checkout. Like people who don't scan everything in their cart. And what happened? They do get caught in it's Florida. It's not Montgomery County. They say, "Oh, you forgot this," instead of trying to tell you, "Hey, Brent, don't you want to pay for that?"
Yeah, I mean, that's why. I mean, I think it generally works at, like at Sam's and at Costco, because they have procedures in place to check the receipts. They don't go through every single thing because they could never look at every single thing, but in general, they can eyeball and say, yeah, okay, your receipt shows what you have. If you do the self checkout at Costco, it's a scale there, right? You have to put down whatever you purchase, onto that scale thing. So, otherwise you can't proceed with your transaction, right? So there's some checks and balances there, but a lot of those self checkouts are not like that, and a lot of stores don't employ people to take care of that. So they suffer from that shrink, and then they say, well, it's too high, and they pull out. I mean, if your store is built on having minimal employees, and then you put the self checkout thing, thinking it's convenience, I think you're just saying, hello, just steal from me, Dollar Tree.
But I think part of this is there's a social contract. Like a lot of this is just generic deterrence that creates the expectation that you're not going to steal. When you eliminate an expectation of accountability, you undermine any deterrence, and then it becomes absolute. Like you have to check every item, you have to review and treat everyone like a criminal that comes into every store, because you're trying to deter that handful of people that completely disregard any sense of personal accountability or responsibility. That's why this is a deeper issue than just how we classify it legally, what we choose to prosecute, what we choose to call criminal. We've got to restore some level of personal accountability, personal responsibility, and then you can bring back a little bit of trust and not treat everybody walking into CVS like a criminal, and then actually have a self-checkout that you don't have to watch like a hawk, because people there realize that they're going to do the right thing, because there's a cost that you're passing on to somebody every time you steal, or there's some other some breakdown of personal behavior, personal responsibility. I mean, this is a much bigger issue, and if you ask me, than just marginal criminal behavior. This is personal accountability 101.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the shoplifting, increase, when inflation surged. People are like, prices have gone too high. I'm going to see if I can just walk out of the store, and they don't think anything about it. They see this as a costless thing that they're doing. That we can't afford it, but we need to have this, so we're going to take it. But everybody pays the price for that, right? I mean, they don't understand.
Also, they weren't taking necessities; they were taking big screen TVs, tennis shoes. So it wasn't like there was a rush on necessities. It was a sense of things are too expensive. I'm just going to take what I want.
Right? Yeah. No, it was just incredible. I mean, that's why. I mean, Sam's has done something which is kind of interesting, because they put up a gantry in most of their stores now, and particularly if you use their Scan and Go app, and you scan and you pay on the app as you go through, it's supposed to detect. Now you have to have it in a cart. I discovered that if you hold it in your hand, it can't do this. But if so if you've got one item, you're like, if you have like bananas and you walk out with it, they still got to check you off. But if you had it in the cart, it understands, and it does whatever it does, and it tells the person at the exit, you're clear. And so they speed it up a little bit that way, by getting people through. I mean, Amazon, I think, was revolutionary in the sense of, you pull something off the shelf or whatever, and they had all this technology where you could process things, and you wouldn't have to use a cashier or whatever. It was all done. You walk out the store, and you would get charged. They pulled back from that, but I think as we get more into AI, I think we'll probably see other ways for the stores to monitor people and monitor what they purchase, and find a way to kind of keep them from walking out of the store with too much stuff, and reduce their shrink, so that the rest of us aren't going to face increased prices as a result of all of that.
Yeah, I think the name of this a few years ago was the sharing economy. If everybody's on board with paying their fair share and being personally accountable, it works. But then the second that somebody doesn't buy into the sharing economy or the personal responsibility, they get to run roughshod over everybody else's expectation of paying a reasonable price. Because somebody, whether it's an insurance company or the business owner, somebody's going to absorb that cost. And it breaks down the second that people aren't on board with doing the right thing.
That's so true. And here's the thing, one thing I don't like about Costco self-checkout, why don't they have those scanner guns like they have at Giant and Safeway? Why can't I have my own scanner gun to scan stuff? You know what a pain it is to take something. If somebody's not there to scan it in my cart for me, I gotta take this big heavy thing out, put it on the scale, scan it, move it over. It's like it's so much easier if they just.
I understand that because I get, but most of the time, I mean, I think Costco's done a better job of making sure they have, usually have one person in each of the sections. We usually have like, 2 lanes or whatever, so that there's usually an employee in each one, and they're looking. The good ones are looking to see who's got a lot of product. Like the cases of water, a watermelon, anything big and heavy, and then they come over and they basically go ahead and make that process that transaction for you. I have been in Costco's where they're like looking the other way. They never look at you.
They don't want to do their job. What's what is? They want to make eye contact. I don't have to go and help them.
The solution to this mainly is go to the executive hours because you can get.
That's what I do.
You get the best service when there's nobody in the store.
And you're in and out in like 10 minutes sometimes.
Oh, I know. It's bliss.
Such a mess.
It is.
It's also great now they got rid of because they were doing like a grace period where even the peasants could come in and shop during executive hours.
Yeah,
they got rid of that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a meanie. I need to repent for this, but I do have this little thing in my mind where every time I see somebody who doesn't have executive membership, scan their thing and they get stopped at the door. I almost think like, guys, just pay a few extra bucks and you're in.
and you also get a rebate check every year that you can.
Yeah, I found my daughter-in-law had been in Japan for a year teaching, so her membership expired because she wasn't going to go to Costco in Japan. It's too far away. But she has a Costco credit card that's tied to me, but and everything like this. But Costco sent, I wasn't even paying attention. Costco sent an email saying like she needs to renew her membership by December 1st or she loses a credit card. And so I told her, I says, you need to renew that membership, And I said, look, and she goes out, she's single now, right? Having lost her husband, having Spencer, my son passed away, but just for the fact that she uses the credit card, she earns more in rebates on that card than she would easily pays for the cost of the membership. So it's like, yeah, do that. You're still using, you still got a card and you're still earning, plenty of money on all your purchases. So, I mean, I think that's a good thing for her to do that. So knowing her, that I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't get down to like November 30th and finally coughs up the money or something like that. Hey, look, before we got a few more minutes here, but while David's still here, because I want to get his perspective on this. It's okay, Dwight. We had the Virginia gubernatorial debate last night, and I kind of want to get the Virginians' take on this because Winsome Sears hammered away at Spanberger, and from my vantage point far away, that was great. But my question it would still be is that with early voting already in process since early September.
Yeah.
How much will that affect? I don't know. I don't know if debates like that matter as much when you have early voting and then something like a gubernatorial race.
Yeah.
No.
Well, remember 4 years ago we had we were into early voting by the time Terry McAuliffe said if parents should have no say or parents shouldn't tell schools what to teach. And it still cost him, even though it was probably later into the cycle than this one. I wrote a column, and I think if you've got my Substack link, put it on. But I wrote a column on my views of the debate last night. I watched it in Fairfax. Well, a few things. First off, I thought the moderators were very good. They did follow.
Who were the moderators, by the way, Dave?
Pardon?
Do you know who they were? The moderators?
Local people from Norfolk, whatever the station was on.
Oh, really? Okay.
They did follow up. They pressed Spanberger a few times. One of the issues was rescinding the Governor Youngkin as executive order.
She couldn't answer that one.
Yeah, she wouldn't, and she was pressed 3 times for it. But I think Sears made a few mistakes, as I point out in my column, in terms of the interrupting, because while Spanberger is struggling, you can hear Winsome taking shots at her, and it would probably be better not to say anything, because at least in one case, I think the hectoring helped Spanberger prompt and switch, because Spanberger at one point said, no, naked men shouldn't be in the girls' locker room. Well, that sounds great. That's commonsensical. But you have to understand, from Spanberg's perspective and the perspective of the left, a transgendered male who becomes a girl, a female, or identifies as, is not a man. So that's why it doesn't affect the left's view of boys and girls sports. But I thought it would be better for Winsome sometimes just don't say anything and let Abigail blow it. But I thought in one case, I thought Spanberger did well in trying to come across as the moderate Democrat, because they mentioned cooperating with ICE, and she didn't really take the hard left's position. Her view was, well, if there's a warrant, then state and local government should honor that. Overall, I thought Spanberger debated as if not to lose. I think she debated believing that she's ahead in the polls. And Sears, conversely, I think was pretty aggressive and debated like she's behind. I don't really think she's that far behind, but that's the way I think it came across. The other thing that was fair about this debate, I thought, was they brought it up early, Jay Jones's comments and text. In fact, they even listed them on the screen and let everybody see them. So I thought that was interesting. And here again, Spanberger kind of tried to slip out of that, or didn't directly answer the question. She was asked, will you rescind your endorsement of Jay Jones? And she wouldn't say that. She wouldn't go that far. If I were Sears, I would have just asked her bluntly, do you plan on voting for Jay Jones for Attorney General? But
yeah.
voting.
By the way, the debate last night also sounded a lot like the Trump-Biden debate.
Yeah.
If you remember the first one. Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? That not from this time, but from 2020. See, Trump made the mistake that maybe Sears made in that first debate in 2020. Trump kept interrupting, and Biden was already sinking. He should have just shut up, let Biden speak, and that's somehow what I felt in a way last night. And the last point I'd make is Spanberger tried to make affordability an issue. The problem with that is she voted for Bidenomics while she was in Congress. So she voted for all that spending, which got the inflation. And there's nothing she can do as governor to return us to pre-Biden prices. So I would have just hammered her on that, and then blamed her, as she deserves blame, for the high inflation. So, or some of the blame, because she voted for all that spending in Washington. But anyway, those are just a few of my takes. I don't know that it'll change many votes. I'm not sure about that. But Thursday is the Attorney General debate, and I don't know if Jones will cancel that debate or not. But that'll be must-see TV, I think.
Yeah.
But the thing about Jones is that I don't think he's dropping out, and his name's already on the ballot. But I did hear that there was a fundraiser this week that was canceled. It was at David Baldacci's house, the writer, and it got canceled. It got canceled. So I don't know if it's going to hurt the fundraising. And the last thing I will say is that there's another scandal coming for Jay Jones, and that is that we know about the text, but in the same National Review story, they mentioned that he got busted for a high-speed chase, 46 miles over the speed limit. It wasn't a chase; they called him speeding. But
hey, in Virginia, that's a felony.
Well, here's the thing: he had to do 1,000 hours or something of community service. Guess what? Half of that time was spent on his political action committee. Somehow, that became the community service. So they're gonna that's gonna be brought up as to how and he was connected, because remember, his father was a powerful delegate. So
and I think on top of that, I think the Democrat Lieutenant Governor Hashmi, I think is her name.
Yes.
She is having her own little troubles too, a little bit. They're not as big as Jay Jones, but I think it might be enough for John Reed to pull off an upset. I mean, the fact that the Virginia Democrat Party, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Oh yeah.
Bringing up old stuff, citing from anti-Semitic websites, bringing that stuff out and attacking John Reed about that.
Yeah.
It is reprehensible.
Yeah, so stay tuned on Thursday, and also check out my Substack because I wrote a nice column. I think a nice column on it. So
Yeah,
but anyway.
in general, just for these politicians like Trump, like Sears, it's like you need to control yourself so that when your opposition is already kind of cornered, let them continue to dig that hole. Do not give them the out by interrupting. Just let it go. Because I also think that people then also you get the media and others saying, oh, but he or she kept interrupting, and that is just that's not right. And so then they lose focus on the fact that these people were drowning at the time, and it's like throwing them like a little lifeline or a life vest, and saying, oh, we'll help you. We'll continue let you buoy up here a little bit. So anyway.
I agree.
All right, Dwight, we're out of time.
Yeah, we're at final thoughts actually. So final thoughts. So Dave, go.
Well, tomorrow I'll be talking about, of all things, podcasting at my church men's group. They're having me speak, so I'll talk about what we do and what I do on my podcast, and so that'll be kind of interesting. But otherwise, looking for some rain. Apparently, sadly, I think we're going to get hit with a storm this weekend up from the coast. But hopefully everything else be good, and that's about it.
Okay, Chris, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll start with a quote from Napoleon: "Is never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake." So replace enemy with adversary, or follow a debater. But let them wallow in their mistake. I think that's some wise advice.
Yeah.
No, all I'll share is I've got a bunch of events this weekend. So tomorrow morning I'll be speaking at the Montgomery County GOP convention. Then I'm driving out to Garrett to participate in their fall festival parade. I was there last night for the firemen's parade. Tomorrow is the town, sort of the formal fall festival parade. And then tomorrow night, I'll be in Allegheny for their Lincoln Reagan dinner, only to then go to the Kentlands Oktoberfest on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I've got a really interesting fundraiser at First Breach. It's a ammunitions manufacturer in Hagerstown. It is like truly one of those, U.S. manufacturing success stories. In 3 years, they've gone from a garage operation up to, $60-70 million a year in sales and revenue. And we're going to hold a fundraiser there to sort of highlight the success of American-made manufacturing, and also to sort of spend some more time in Hagerstown. So that should be Tuesday night, and I'm really looking forward to that event. Thanks for having me again tonight.
Glad to have a few aboard. Don, final thoughts.
Yeah, just a couple things. I saw tonight that TPUSA, Turning Point USA, is planning to have an alternative halftime show for the Super Bowl next year to offset Bad Bunny, which is a bad decision by the NFL. Yet again, the NFL just they just can't get anything right here sometimes. It's just so. And the NFL's taken a lot of criticism for this whole Bad Bunny thing, which they deserve, but it would be something else, to see. I'm kind of curious as to exactly what Turning Point USA is planning on doing and how they're planning on airing and whatnot. But given all the publicity that they've had and everything like this, it could be a fascinating show that they put on and be a worthy competitor to the NFL. During halftime next year, but that's not until like February 8th, so they still got plenty of time to plan and pull this thing off. But go TP USA. Never thought I'd ever really say that before, but I'm definitely in their corner now. And also, just as a kind of a sad note, but so Sister Jean passed away at 106. So she was the men's basketball chaplain for Loyola Chicago, and she became famous during their run to the Final Four in 2018. So you think about it, it's like she was 99 years old, and everybody loved her, right? I mean, it's like Okay, I'm not Catholic, but I love, I mean, you just fall in love with this little old nun, and everything like this, and she, 106, you got to
That's a
give
good
her
run.
credit for that. She only just recently stepped down from her role as a chaplain just in August because of health problems. So I don't expect to live to 106. I'm not sure I want to live to 106.
Yeah.
but good for her. She seems to have had the life that she had chosen, and my hat's off to her for a wonderful life. Back to you, Dwight.
Hey, so we're getting close to. I don't know if you guys saw Andrew Cuomo's little tweet this morning saying it's a two-man race, just discounting our man Curtis Lewa. But New Yorkers, you got a choice. Okay, you got dumb and dumber in Cuomo and Mamdani. Curtis Lewa, yeah, he's a little weird. He wears those little red berets around. He might be a little eccentric. He maybe owned one too many cats. But hey. He rides the subway. He was the founder of the Guardian Angels, and he's kind of like Batman. He travels the streets and keeps them safe, keep the criminal elements off. Take a look at Curtis Lewa, New Yorkers. Take a look at him. He's a good candidate. He's what New York needs. May not be what you want, but he's what you need. What you don't definitely need is Cuomo or Mamdani. There's like a dime's worth of difference between their positions. They both are for raising taxes. They're all for curtailing police. They all want to do that fair housing, free housing, grift, and they want to regulate business to death. So I mean, if you want to borrow a phrase from Ross Perot, if you want to hear a giant sucking sound in New York City, don't vote for either of those two. Vote for Curtis Lewa, because the businesses are all going to leave to New Jersey, Connecticut, Florida, Tennessee, Texas, where they don't have all your onerous regulations. And you may be prepared to lose a few more seats to the next census redistricting in a few years. Mm-hmm. And that's all I've got, everyone. We're heading into the end of the season. So check out stuff that's going on. It's a fall rest up. Next year is going to be a grueling election year. We've got every single seat in the Maryland State Legislature, the House and Senate, as well as every single county council, county executive, county commissioners slots, all up for re-election. And then you got those lesser tier 2 offices like Registrar of Wills and orphans courts judges and so on. So rest up, Maryland Republicans, and get ready for 2026. It'll be here before you know it. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go